Hi, Pastor Anthony here. It was approximately 3 months ago, almost to the day, that I sent out a video sharing with you on a Friday about the suspension of worship activities at the Rochester Christian Reformed Church. And this morning I wanted to give you an update on where things stand now and what the future looks like for us here at RCRC. So I've got a few things here I want to talk about, and our council met last night to discuss this very issue, and I wanted to share with you an update on some of the decision making and how that was done and what factored into that decision. So first I want to begin with the survey. And that survey we sent out because we wanted to solicit information from the congregation. We wanted to hear your voice. And you spoke to us loud and clear, and an overwhelming response. We received 131 responses to that survey from our congregation, and 74 of you took the time to actually provide written comments, sometimes quite extensive written comments to us. That's a great response and clearly shows that you're engaged, that you want to share that. And we told you when we asked you for that feedback to your leadership that we would listen to that, and that would factor into our decision-making process. So what did we hear? What did we learn from that? Well, the survey, and you've seen this pie chart, it's in the announcements, it'll be in today's announcements, the final one. This pie chart basically shows that 65% of the congregation is in a position where they would like to wait to come back until we can come back as one body and that we can have relatively minor restrictions upon us. Basically, a desire to be somewhat like we were before, right? Before all this happened, like February, if you will. 17% said, I'm really not comfortable coming back until the threat of COVID-19 is essentially eliminated. And then 18% said, hey, I'm ready to come back this Sunday. I'm willing to live with these restrictions that are there, that are put upon us, and I'm willing to do that because I want to be back as soon as possible. So what does that tell us? Well, essentially what we are hearing here from our congregation is that 82% of our congregation, of those who responded to this survey, which is a very good, it's almost our entire congregation who responded to this, that they want to wait. They want to wait, that they are not pressuring or desiring to move fast in coming back together. And so that's the voice that we are hearing through the survey that came to us as your leaders. And we did discuss that. That was on our agenda, talking about what you are saying to us as a leadership. That factored into our decision-making process. The second thing that factored into our decision-making process is tech. And I just wanted to update people how that is factoring into our decision-making process. What we are sending out right now every Sunday is not live stream. Okay, live stream is something that you are filming the worship service on Sunday live as it's happening, contemporaneous, and it's going out contemporaneous. So the people in the church and the people at home are watching the same thing essentially at the same time. What we are doing is not that, of course. What we are doing is filming various segments of a worship service. They are being recorded. They are then being edited, uploaded. Graphics are put in there. Lyrics, the hymns are being put in there. Scripture texts. This week you'll see graphics in the sermon. There's and obviously we've been putting videos in there and things like that. So we are producing a worship service. That takes a lot of effort. We are so thankful to Gary Harris, who has given his time, his talent to our church in helping to do that. Jim Quinn is also providing assistance in that area and is working on those things as well. But we are producing a kind of finished, polished, edited product that's going out as our content. We are not live streaming. And the reason why is because we can't live stream. This is the tech issue that we have as a church. Our current internet service is not sufficient for video live streaming from our sanctuary. And you may be saying, well, how did we let the church get into this position? Well, let me tell you, we were looking to upgrade our internet. Whether it was last summer or the year before, we explored doing that, and there was a $20,000 plus cost to install that upgrade to our church. And we thought that was prohibitive, and we believed if we waited, we would have more opportunities as additional competitors came into the area who would provide us better internet service. And at the time, while it was poor internet, and it is poor internet, it was sufficient to do what we were doing as far as audio upload of our sermons. Well, what happened most recently, and praise God for this, the providence of God, what we expected to happen is that there would be more opportunities to upgrade our internet service at a less prohibitive cost. That has happened. In May, we got contacted by Spectrum to make that change without this install cost. And we have signed a contract. We are pursuing that with all deliberate speed to get that upgrade done. But it's going to take time. It's going to take time because there are permits that have to be approved by utilities, by the state. Love to be able to tell you an exact date when that will be done. I can't do that yet. Probably the best case scenario is somewhere in late July, more likely August, perhaps even September. We just don't know. When we do know, we will share that information when that gets done. It's really out of our hands. Until that pipe gets to the church building, it's out of our hands. But we are doing everything we can to accelerate, to make that happen. And when we and that would allow us then to actually do live stream. Now, how this factors into our decision-making process at this time is what we want to do as a council is to care for every person, every segment of this pie chart. For those who want to go back, for those who want to wait till essentially no threat, and to those who want to come back with less restrictions. How do we meet the needs of all of these people? If we go back and have a service right now, what would happen is these 18% would get a live service. What will we provide to this 82% who won't be there? And so your options, we can't live stream it. So we would have to do an actual service and also a video production, editing, all those type of things. That's a significant commitment and a significant amount of work and a lot to ask of people who on a volunteer basis. So we'd have to make some other decisions if we choose to do that. Or can we bridge a gap until we have the tech, which would allow us the potential to live stream? Now, I'll tell you, live streaming won't be popular with all of you either. So there'll be issues about cameras in the sanctuary and how that looks and what that product will look like. I mean, in many ways, it still won't be as nice as the polished product we're receiving as an edited, produced video that we're getting every Sunday right now. So, but the hope is that the tech here at our church would at least allow that possibility so that everybody on this pie chart would see the same thing, would receive the same thing, whether they're home or in the building. That would be a goal. We can't do that right now. That's a tech issue. So we've got the survey, we've got the tech, then we have the government issue. So the government has issued guidelines to churches and about worship services and funeral services. You can see those if you want to read them. They're really fun reading. They're on the state website. You can find them. You want them, we'll send them to you. They are pretty onerous, okay? They're restrictive, and they are unclear in many ways. They are confusing, and we have multiple things going on as a church. We have these kind of guidelines for worship, and then there are these guidelines for public service, open office kind of buildings and what is required of those. And which one are we? Are we both? Well, in many ways, we could argue we are. And so a desire to kind of be able to follow those guidelines, really a requirement legally. Many of them are mandatory guidelines. There are recommended ones as well. And trying to meet those with our resources and to be faithful to that. I mean, some people are saying, I don't care about them. That's not our posture. So we have a lot to deal with there that's not clear. And right now, it's 25% of our capacity that we could even do this with all of these restrictions. And so we're wrestling with those things too and how to be faithful to those. And I would tell you, even if we do everything in those mandatory guidelines, it will not create a safe place in the church. We cannot eliminate all risk. It's not going to happen. And in many ways, there is a pushing upon businesses and churches a responsibility to do certain things that in many ways, I'll be honest, I find somewhat, I'm a bit frustrated, I guess, in doing that because of the lack of clarity, the changing of the rules, and the lack of, the lack of clarity, I guess, in some of those things, and the heavy weight that's being put on, both from caring for people, of giving false kind of a sense of security to people, to liability, all of those things. But we're dealing with that too. So we've got your voice, we've got our tech limitations, we've got the government guidelines, restrictions, and when I'm critical of those things, I'm not necessarily against those things, right? I'm saying I think we should be supportive of them, but I'll be honest that they are pretty onerous and complicated to implement. All right, on top, so all of that to say, these three things led council to discuss. We discussed all of those. They factored into our decision-making process. So what did we decide to do? Well, we decided to basically continue as we are right now for the foreseeable future. We set as a date, as kind of a goalpost, if you will, September 13, 2020 is a time to come back as a congregation. That's the Sunday after Labor Day, and to begin in-person worship. Why that date? A few reasons. One is to provide at least some clarity of runway for planning for the summer, how we will operate. We don't want this to be a week-by-week type of decision-making process. So to provide some runway there. A second thing, the hope that we will be able to solve this tech problem or to improve that and get that internet installed and be able to at least have some form of live streaming available if we wait it out a bit. There's some benefit to see what will happen. Will we see spikes? Will there be a second wave? Also, will there be additional opening up of the economy? Will people become more comfortable in kind of larger gatherings, and will we receive from the government a more flexible and a more open type of set of guidelines? Will these restrictions be lessened over that time? That's our hope. We don't know. We can't guarantee that. But it kind of goes to the 65% who say, I want to come back, but I want it to feel a little bit more like I did before. And so this provides us the opportunity to see that play out. Setting that goal of September 13, 2020 does not mean those goalposts could not be moved. They could be moved sooner, right? We can move them closer, and we could open before that. We can do that as a council, and we can alter that date if the circumstances, the factors, the variables, all the things that we know, if the situation improves to a point, we can make change to that and open sooner. We're not obligated. It's not written in stone to keep it there. It's possible. It could also, the goalpost could be moved more distant, right? We don't know. If cases are, if we have spikes, we have a second wave, whatever, we just don't know enough. But we set that as kind of an interim guideline and goal, September 13th, 2020. Now that news, if you're, for some of you, that news is depressing. Perhaps not unexpected, but depressing. It's depressing to me. I didn't sleep well last night. I was depressed about it. I'm not sure I would have been excited if we were opening on Sunday. There's a whole bunch of new issues and challenges that come up if we do that too. But and for some of you, you might be downright, I'm frustrated. And I think the church is making the wrong decision. And maybe it's the 18% here who feel that way. What our goal is to try to be faithful to God, to be faithful to the authorities who are put over us, and to be faithful to the people we serve, this group, everyone in this group. And we're trying to meet all of those needs, and it's hard to do. I realize that. And we're going to be in different places about that and feel differently about these choices. But I want to be the pastor of the 65%, the 17%, and the 18%. I think our council is committed to wanting to lead for all of those people. But decisions have to be made. That's the decision we made. That's why we made that decision. Now, there's one last thing I want to talk about, and that's the new normal. And I guess one of the things I think that we may all need to grapple with as these weeks unfold is that we might not be able to go back to the way it was anytime soon. I mean, maybe not in the next 6 to 12 months, right? It may not happen. We may need to have more flexible thinking about our future and what it might be. We might be needing to be willing to live with certain restrictions to operate as a church, to worship together as a church. And I think we may get there where we will have to accept levels of risk, accept levels of restriction to be together. And, I think as our economy opens, as people will be going to restaurants, maybe going to gatherings, maybe going to, for various levels of shopping and getting used to doing that in a new way, the same thing's going to happen to the church. And if people can go to a restaurant and they can sit in with 50 people and eat a dinner or something, then I think we could do that as a church. I guess what I'm saying is we may need to come to a point where we all kind of recalibrate our expectations about what the future looks like. And that's going to be true for kids in school, for how we operate on a daily basis, and how we go to church. So that's something I think spiritually and leadership-wise that I will be grappling with, and I want you to be part of that journey towards that, what might be a new normal. Also, before I go, I want to be available to you. And, we're doing these Wednesday night Google Meet kind of things, and I realize that's not for everybody. And so I want to provide, nurture for everyone. So, I did these series of videos on covenant conversations. I will be releasing this summer something like that, a 6 to 7 video set that will be posted. That is not a Google Meet. You can go watch it whenever you want to, with the idea of providing some nurture, opportunity, particularly for people who don't engage in those other ways of Google Meets. Also, in addition to that, I want to make myself available to you, to all of you. Whether it's on Google Meet, whether it's on the phone, or if it's in person. I mean, we can have face-to-face meetings, and we can do that here at the church, outside the church, and we can do that in a way that's in accord with the rules. I am an employee of this church. I have a responsibility to follow the rules and to follow the rules and laws of our state. And we can do that, and we can meet together, and we can do that in a face-to-face way. And I want to be available to you and to meet everybody where they are. And so I'm going to be trying to do those things, and in some ways having this decision made about the current goalpost where it is allows me to do some planning as well. So that's basically it, folks. That's where we are. We will continue as we are currently operating for an additional period of time. Obviously, if there are changes to that, we will let you know. We will inform you as soon as possible. If you have feedback you want to give, you are always free to voice your thoughts and your opinions to me, to Tim Freeler, President of Council, to Council through correspondence. We are your representatives, and so we're doing the best we can. I can tell you it's a very difficult time. It's a very difficult time, and it's very difficult to meet everyone where they are. We simply can't do it, I think, and I don't like that because I want everybody on this pie chart to be happy. Probably can't achieve that, and I have to live with that. But I'll say this. We have an opportunity right now as a congregation to be able to see the best of who we are and to have forbearance with regard to one another and to love one another, to love God and to serve God in difficult circumstances. This is when people are tested. And what I would love to have happen is for us to look back on this moment, to look back on this, like a ring on the tree. You look at a tree, and like when it's had a rough year, you can kind of tell by looking at it. And I want that ring of our congregational life to be something we look back on and say, we stuck together. We lived for Christ. We got it done. We found a way to live, to worship, to nurture, to be together. We saw the best of who we are. We did not engage in demonization or vilification of those who are in different parts of it. We listened to one another. We respected one another. We loved one another, and we served Christ. That's what I want this moment to be, and I believe we can do that. And I believe we are called to do that. So I pray that you will join me in that as we walk together, as we move forward into what is an uncertain future. But we know who holds that future. And we give praise to Him, and we serve Him, we proclaim Him, and I pray that we would all be united as one in Jesus Christ. Isn't that what we're all about? So thanks for listening. God bless, and have a good day.